People think love ends loudly screaming fights, slammed doors, dramatic goodbyes. Ours didn't. It ended quietly, like a song fading out while you're still listening. My name is Claire Donovan, and this is the story of the man I loved in the years between who I was and who I became. I met Ethan Miller on a rainy Tuesday in October, the kind of day that makes the city feel smaller. I was 26, working the early shift at a neighborhood cafe in Portland, Oregon. Ethan walked in soaked, hair plastered to his forehead, glasses fogged, holding a broken umbrella like it had personally betrayed him. "Coffee," he said, smiling like the world hadn't just tried to drown him. "Anything strong enough to forgive my poor life choices?" I laughed. That was it. That was the beginning. He came back the next day, and the day after that. Always sat at the corner table by the window, always tipped too much, always asked how my day was and actually waited for the answer. Ethan was a middle school history teacher. He loved old maps, used bookstores, and writing letters instead of texts. I loved photography, late night walks, and pretending I was braver than I was. Together, we were gentle. Our love didn't explode, it settled. We moved into a small apartment with creaky floors and bad plumbing. We argued about dishes and which side of the bed was whose. We built routines: Sunday pancakes, Thursday grocery runs, Friday movies on the couch. I thought that was what forever looked like. Then life did what it does, it applied pressure. Ethan was offered a teaching fellowship in Boston. 1 year, a big deal, career defining. He tried to sound casual when he told me, but his hands shook. "I don't want to lose us," he said. "Then don't," I replied, too quickly. But love doesn't live in intentions alone. I stayed in Portland. My photography was finally gaining traction: gallery shows, freelance work. Long distance turned our conversations thinner. Time zones replaced touch. Love letters turned into scheduled calls, then missed ones. When Ethan came home for Christmas, something felt off, not broken, just misaligned. We still kissed, still laughed, but we no longer rested in each other. One night, lying side by side, he whispered, "Do you ever feel like we were holding on to a version of us that doesn't exist anymore?" I didn't answer, because the truth scared me. By spring, we were trying too hard. Love shouldn't feel like a job interview. The breakup happened on a quiet Sunday. No yelling, no accusations. "I love you," he said. "I know," I replied. "But love isn't enough if we're growing in opposite directions." We cried. We held each other. Then he packed a bag. That was 6 years ago. Life went on, like it always does. I moved cities, built a career, dated other people, smiled in photos, learned how to be alone without feeling lonely. But some loves don't disappear. They transform. I thought of Ethan when I passed bookstores, when it rained unexpectedly, when someone laughed the way he used to like joy surprised him. Then, one fall afternoon, I received a letter, an actual letter. "Claire, I don't know if this will find you. I hope it does. I'm back in Portland for a conference. I walked past the cafe today. The table by the window is still there. If you want just coffee, nothing more." I stared at the envelope for a long time. Then I went. He looked older, softer. There were faint lines near his eyes. Still kind, still Ethan. We talked for hours. About life, mistakes, growth. About how loving someone doesn't always mean staying. Before we left, he said, "You were my safest place." I smiled. "You taught me how to love without fear." We hugged, long, real, final, and we walked away whole. Some love stories don't end with marriage. Some end with gratitude. And that, I've learned, is still a kind of happy ending. I didn't expect grief to return so politely. It arrived weeks after I saw Ethan again, not as tears, not as pain, but as a quiet emptiness that followed me from room to room. The kind that sits beside you while you edit photos at midnight or fold laundry you don't remember wearing. Seeing him hadn't reopened the wound. It had clarified it. There's a strange ache that comes when you realize a love didn't fail, it simply finished its work. After that afternoon, I started noticing the gaps. Not him, but the version of me that existed when we loved each other. She was softer, less guarded. She believed time would always wait. I wondered where she had gone. 2 months later, my work took me to San Francisco for a gallery show. Big room, white walls, my photographs framed and spaced like they mattered. People complimented my emotional restraint, which made me smile. They didn't know restraint was something I'd learned the hard way. That's where I met Daniel. He wasn't dramatic. No cinematic entrance. He stood quietly in front of one of my photos, a black and white shot of a woman sitting alone on a bus bench, and said, "She looks like she's deciding whether to stay or leave." I said, "She already knows." Daniel was a widower. He didn't lead with it, didn't wear his loss like a badge. But when he spoke about his late wife, it wasn't heavy, it was honest. That terrified me more than sadness ever could. We had dinner, then coffee, then long walks where silence didn't feel awkward. Daniel didn't try to fill the empty spaces in me. He respected them. But love, real love, doesn't just ask, "Can you be with me?" It asks, "Are you ready to be seen again?" And I wasn't sure. One night, after a show opening, Daniel asked gently, "Who broke your heart?" I hated how easily the answer came. Someone who didn't mean to. I told him about Ethan, about timing, distance, growth, about how loving someone deeply doesn't guarantee permanence. Daniel listened without interrupting. Then he said something that stayed with me. "Some people are chapters," he said, "not because they're unimportant, but because the story needs what they teach, not where they end." That night, I went home and cried, not for Ethan, not for Daniel, but for the version of love I had finally stopped romanticizing. A week later, I received another letter, not from Ethan, from myself. I'd written it years ago and forgotten, sealed, addressed, tucked into an old notebook. It was a note to my future self, written during the loneliest month after the breakup. It read, "If you're reading this, it means you survived loving someone you couldn't keep. I hope you didn't harden. I hope you didn't confuse protection with strength. Love again even if it scares you, especially if it scares you." I folded the letter carefully. Then I called Daniel. We didn't rush. We didn't promise forever. We built something slower, something rooted in choice, not fear. And sometimes late at night, when rain hits the windows just right, I still think of Ethan, not with longing, with gratitude, because he taught me that love doesn't always stay, but it always changes you. And the bravest thing you can do after losing it is let it find you again. The invitation arrived in late November, an email from a small Portland gallery hosting a year-end exhibition titled What Remains. They wanted one final photograph from me to close the show. I almost declined. Then I saw the address. It was the same building where Ethan and I once attended a lecture years ago. The same street where we'd argued about nothing and everything. The same city that held too many versions of who I used to be. I submitted the photograph anyway. The night of the exhibition, the gallery was full. Soft music, low voices, wine glasses clinking like punctuation marks in other people's conversations. I stood near my final piece, a photo of two shadows on a wall, close but not touching. I felt calm. That's when I saw him. Ethan didn't approach right away. He stood back, studying the photo. His posture was familiar, hands in his coat pockets, head tilted slightly, like he was trying to understand something that mattered. When he finally turned, our eyes met. No shock, no rush, just recognition. "Hi, Claire," he said. "Hi, Ethan." We stepped outside into the cold. Portland smelled like rain and pine, just like it always had. "I didn't know you'd be here," I said. "I didn't know you were the artist," he replied, smiling softly. I guess we both keep surprising each other. We talked not about the past at first, but about who we had become. He told me he'd moved back for good, that he taught now at a local high school, that he lived alone and liked it that way. I used to think coming back meant reopening old doors, he said. Now I realize it just means knowing which ones to keep closed. I nodded. I understood. After a pause, he added, I loved you the best way I knew how back then. I wish I'd known more. You knew enough, I said. So did I. That was the moment the one people imagine should end differently. With a confession, a kiss, a second chance. But life isn't written for drama. It's written for truth. We hugged, brief, warm, complete. And then Ethan said, I'm glad we were real even if we weren't forever. So am I replied. He walked away. And for the first time, I didn't watch until he disappeared. Later that night, I stood alone in the gallery, staring at my photograph. Two shadows, close, separate, not broken, just finished. Some love stories don't circle back to restart. They circle back to release. And that's what this was. Not a reunion, a resolution, a thank you from the heart. If you've listened to this story until the end, thank you truly. Stories like this exist because you take the time to feel them. If this story resonated with you, if it reminded you of someone you once loved, or a version of yourself you've outgrown, please like this video. It helps this channel reach others who need these stories too. And if you want more emotional, realistic love stories like this one, subscribe to the channel and stay with us. New stories are coming, stories about love, loss, healing, and the quiet strength it takes to move forward. Until next time, remember this: not all love is meant to stay, but all love is meant to mean something. Thank you for listening.